And we're live, and I'm so excited. I think I say this every week. I'm so excited about today's show. A theme. I just love things that I am passionate about. Now, how's that for hooking us into this week's topic, which is passion projects? So if you don't know me, I'm Debra Eckerling. I'm the author of Your Goal Guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals, and founder of the DEB Method, which is my system for goal setting simplified. And every week, Sunday night, I lead the Goal Chat Twitter chat. And then on Mondays, I join you to dive deeper into the topic. And I will repeat myself. I'm thrilled. I'm very excited because today's guest is Bridgitte Jackson-Buckley, who is another Mango author. And we met and became friends because we're Mango authors. And that's what we do. And Bridgitte not only is an author, she just is opening her passion project, Little Visioneers, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself better because, again, when referring to one's passion, no one talks about it better than you. So, Bridgitte, thank you so much for joining me. And yes, tell people more about you, please. And thank you.
Well, thank you for having me, Deborah. I'm so excited to be here talking with you about passion. Oh, it's just so exciting. So I am an author, fellow Mango author with Deborah, and my book is entitled The Gift of Crisis, How I Used Meditation to Go from Financial Failure to a Life of Purpose. It is a memoir, and I am also the owner of Little Visioneers online bookstore, a bookstore dedicated to books authored by women. While not a traditional feminist bookstore, it's a bookstore that will celebrate the literary contribution of wonderful women authors all over the world.
And it's fun. It's a fun a fun what will one day be a huge endeavor. But I love how you categorize everything. And I'm putting the links to your website and also the link to Little Visioneers over here. And before we dive into the questions, and this is why we chose that. I like to match people who I want to talk to with the right topic. But you said this was your passion project, and you finally said, "Okay, enough. I'm doing it." So how'd you go from "I want to do this someday" to now? Let's start with that.
Okay, I would have to honestly say the catalyst was COVID-19. Because I am a writer, so I love writing. But when the coronavirus hit and we were sheltered in place, March 17th, I think it was, in California, I didn't really feel like at that time that I wanted to continue writing in the traditional way that I had been doing in the online platforms. It was such a shock being in that new environment. So we had a lot of downtime. Everything was quiet. And what I did consistently was write in my journal and also read. I was reading books voraciously, but reading is not something that's new to me. I've always been an avid reader, from the time I was a little girl in middle school reading Stephen King books up until high school being in the journalism club and even throughout college, but I veered away from it and came back to it with reading and writing. So when COVID-19 hit, I was deep diving into books, but I was reading books that I normally don't read. So I was really widening the net. And I was also at that time thinking, what do I want to do next? What project do I want to put my interest into next? And I was really thinking about it. I wasn't even thinking books, but I was constantly trying to get books from the library, getting books on Hoopla on my iPad, looking to see what I had here at home, talking to friends about books. So it was like, what should I do next? And right here in front of me were all these books. And so finally, it was like in the calm of the day, taking a walk, like I so often experience when I'm taking a walk. It's like I just walk into the idea or the gift that was already there, but I was so busy looking over here that I didn't notice. So I said, oh my gosh, like I could actually open a bookstore. I could start a bookstore. And it just felt like eureka, like how, like, I don't know. I'm thinking of like Fred Flintstone and a club over my head because it was so obvious, yet it wasn't apparent to me. And then I thought, oh my gosh, like I am the perfect person for this. I love books. I love holding books. I love telling people about books. Most of my writing career has been me conducting interviews and telling people about books. I mean, it was just such a perfect fit. So that was really the stepping into it because I had kind of dabbled in that area a little bit prior to COVID, but when COVID hit, it was like, okay, I'm in it. So that really was when I accepted that, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And it was like a kid walking into a candy store with that with that idea.
Well, in the what you just said, and I always feel like I need a disclaimer. Yes, this time has been really bad for a lot of people. It's been really good
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of people. For most people, it's kind of somewhere in the middle. And so not to downplay all the awful that's happened, but it's really proof that good comes out of crisis, trauma, drama, life when you take that step back the time when the time is right. It's not necessarily the perfect time, but it's the perfect time for you, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Because I was open and I felt even though we were inside the house and, couldn't go anywhere for a while. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, how am I going to navigate that? At the same time, after a little time passed and I got over the initial shock of it, I started to feel this sense of freedom because I had the time, the resources, and the space to truly explore and to really dive into this and really get into the research. So I spent a lot of that time researching and really looking at what's going on with independent bookstores, what angle would I like to focus on? What innovative aspect would I like to bring? So I was really in that, despite all of this going on around us.
And it really just proves that if you know what you're passionate about, what you love, and stay open to the possibilities, that's really, first step, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I think that, sometimes, like I said, I was kind of, how we tend to look over there, like what, like everywhere but what we are. And so it's so important. It's so important to really pay attention to what you're doing, what you're putting your attention on, what you are doing when you feel like you come out of time. Because when I am reading a book or looking for books, I'm like, oh my gosh, like 3 hours have passed, you know? And I have that same experience also when I'm writing, but it's also being open to the moment and the resources that you have to start exactly where you are.
Wonderful. Well, I think I'm just not okay. Agree. Yes, because when in one of the things I talk about a lot, the D of the Deb method is determine your mission. When you have your mission and you let everything else fly from there, it's invaluable, right?
It is, and one of the core intentions for my writing, anytime I wrote articles or conducted interviews or even my memoir, it has always been to share authentically information that can contribute in any way it's supposed to arise in consciousness in the reader wherever you are. And it's the same with books. Like I get really, really excited and just inspired to say this book might help you, you might enjoy this book, it might educate you, entertain you, inspire you, or encourage you to meet you. It can meet you wherever you are depending on what it is, the book that you're reading. But the beauty of storytelling, of writing, of books is that, I mean, you can go into another world, you can find connection with each other, we can see our humanity within each other from fictional stories and non-fictional stories. So there's so much that can be found there, and I just love sharing information along those lines that can be helpful.
And any mission, or rather, the point of the mission is to do something for others, entertain,
Yeah.
educate, inspire. And once you have that, which obviously you have in spades, once you have that mission, that drive, how can you not be successful?
Yeah, and I think that it's also clear to determine, what is your level, what is successful for you? Like what does that mean? Like right now, I really like the freedom that I have. to
Hmm.
determine how I'm going to spend my time during my day, what I can look at, and what I can talk about. You know, I like exploring, and I find myself, really leaning into my curiosity. Like, what other genres can I explore that I haven't explored before? And I find that is in concert when you hear someone talk about have a beginner's mind, always being willing to learn. This is a completely new endeavor for me. So there is a steep learning curve. With the website, with the books, with the people, with all the little details, all aspects of it, it's a steep learning curve. And it's not always something that's fun and glorious and you hear the angels singing, but, like, you're curious, and you know that you're doing something that can be of service in some way. And when you are in your joy, standing in something that you're passionate about, that you enjoy, like you are in more of a position to emanate love. And isn't that what this is all about? Consciously creating, emanating love, and sharing what we can.
Absolutely. I'm writing this down. When you are in a position of joy, you can better emanate love.
Hmm.
And that kind of makes the world a better place, too. I mean, it's not just good for
Yeah,
you, it's good for the world.
it's good for everybody. I mean, and clearly, a time like now is a time where community is important, coming together is important, tending to the other, sharing what we have, even for those who don't have as much as what we have. And it may not be tangible physical goods. Sometimes it's just showing up into someone's environment, into their home, feeling peaceful, feeling calm. And it is, I think, when you are engaging in activities that bring you joy, whatever it may be, whether it's a passion project, doing something for your family around the house, your professional career, or all of the above. If you are in a place of peace and calm and love, you are bringing joy.
Agreed, 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 agreed. And so let's dive in because you've touched on this a little bit. But what do you think is the value of having a passion project?
Well, I was thinking about the word passion, knowing that this conversation was coming up, and that sometimes that word, it has been used so loosely and sometimes commercialized that it could lose its meaning. But I think a passion can be so much more than ooh, it could be something that has been there for a while, and maybe it was like hidden, suppressed, or repressed, but something that was trying to come through you in some way. And the project is simply the expression of it. I mean, your passion could be sharing information, and the way that you choose to do it is with your goal guide, or your goal
Mm-hmm.
chat live. My passion could be connecting hearts. And the way that I do it is saying, this, look at the heart that is expressed in this book, The Gift of Crisis, and look at the heart that is expressed in this other memoir, that, whatever that may be. But it's really the quality, I think, that's trying to come through that shows itself in the project that you're doing. So it's something that really, I think, is intrinsic to you. There may be several people doing the same thing that you do, but you do it how you do it. And you bring only what you can bring.
I love that your passion is connecting hearts. Well, it just, and the joy and the love, especially as you talk about it, emanates from you. So you know that that's what drives you. And yes, anybody ask me about anything to do with goals, it's like, yes, let me tell you, how many hours do you have? So I can tell you why my book is great and my
Mhm.
philosophies and Deb method and whatever. And the reason that I wanted to get my book out in the world is to help people identify and make a plan so they could bring the things that spark joy in them into the world, whether it's their side hustle, their passion project, or a way to make that their full-time gig. It's
Mhm.
your passion is the happy factor. It's the what drives you, what you want to emanate to the world. The other thing that you said, which is so true, is that there may be dozens and hundreds and whatever dozens of people who do what you do, but only you can do it in your way, with your background, with your experience. And from that, the passion is going to be from a completely different
Mm-hmm.
element.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you bring your fire.
You bring your fire.
You bring your fire, and it's never too late. It's never too late to start. I mean, and if there was ever a time and an opportune moment to really step into a more authentic expression of yourself, it is now. Because so many of the filters have been pulled away and are being pulled away with what we're experiencing with the pandemic and the virus. And so this is a moment where there definitely can be many blessings in disguise. So much waiting to come forward. And one example of that I can share about that is with actually my mother. She is a cosmetologist, a licensed cosmetologist, and when COVID hit, she went through the closing the business, paying the rent for an empty salon, and so forth, and decided finally after a little bit of time to close the salon. So the pivot was, because this time calls for openness, adaptability, um, willingness to try something new. She decided to split half of their garage into half, and she built the salon at her home so that she could continue to do hair on a part-time basis. But of course, the virus raged on, so she had fewer clients coming, meaning she had more time to go for walks and exercise and have her downtime. And in that downtime, Deborah, she started making bracelets. And it just started from, she has loved bracelets her whole adult life. She always wears all of these beaded bracelets. But, her arms are just a little chubby. So she would say they would be a little tight. And she could never get the size that she really wanted. So she said, you know what, I'm going to start and just try to make my own. And I cannot even tell you what that has morphed into. She is expressing herself in a way that I have never seen her express herself. The bracelets are absolutely stunning. And to reiterate, being an expression of joy and love, every time she gives someone one of these bracelets that she's put together with her own hands, she's giving a piece of love, a piece of herself. And that person is able to receive that love. And it's just a beautiful exchange. And I think that she has been, and I don't just say this because she's my mother and I like her a lot, but because she has been one of the best examples I've seen of adaptation in such a time of pressure. I mean, talk about the diamond coming out of pressure. Just to see what she's done with this moment has been such an inspiration to me. So it doesn't always have to be the passion is going to be my career, or the passion looks like this, or I'm too old to do it, but you can just let whatever is trying to come through you in the way that you find the most joy to express it, and just share it.
I love that story.
Me too.
I mean, it's what's really funny is that my mom has done jewelry for many years, and she
Mm-hmm.
actually started doing it. And this is like a million years when we lived in Chicago, so it's a while. She was doing real estate, and somebody walked into the real estate office, said, "Look what I made," and made this necklace, and that intrigued my mother more than the real estate, and she ended up in the jewelry business. So you're telling the story, and I'm like,
And
I really like.
that's another, like, pay attention to what you're paying attention to,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yes, it's I just couldn't resist sharing that because
Yeah.
we're talking before how we've got similar energy, we have all
Yeah.
this alikeness, and then boom, mom story, yeah, another parallel, go us. But
Hmm.
that's really really good example of someone. And if you're watching this and you've been you've been spending the last year trying to figure it out and you haven't figured it out yet, that's okay too. It's a not yet. And I think that's important to recognize as well.
And it is important, of course, because I think that, we find out things when it's time for us to find out. But then sometimes, like I could say I've noticed with myself when I'm just really in my head and I'm just like, what? So often it is something that has been there. It's right there, but I was so intent, like, oh, it must look like this, or what is it, that I just miss it. And it has been in those moments of surrender, relaxation, and acceptance of, okay, I'll know when it's time for me to know. And then I turn my head and there it is. Or like I'm doing something and it's like, oh my gosh, that's the solution. There it is. It always arises from within, even though I've spent time looking for it out there. It's always some internal prompt.
That's such a good point, because and now when people have had a little extra quiet, it doesn't mean they have actual quiet, because their brain's gonna be like, ah. But
Yeah, yeah.
you need to quiet that. Okay,
Hmm.
brain, just chill out. And I love how you use meditation, and because sometimes in meditation also different to different people. So figure out what your version is of meditation, and shoo away the cobwebs and the distractions and say, okay, I'm gonna kind of be at peace. And so I'm open. Is this what you're saying? So you're open
Yes.
to good.
Yes, because and meditation, to reiterate your point, whatever it is for you, I find meditation helps me to calm down tremendously. But because this situation of the pandemic was nothing that I had ever experienced before, I needed some serious centering. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it was like on steroids, the centering that I needed. So, it was meditation. And I also felt such a strong pull to go to the beach. We have that access because we're so close to the Pacific Ocean here, and just sit in the sand and watch the water. I would take walks outside, and sometimes take my camera or my iPad to just take pictures of flowers. Like I knew I needed something extra to help, just to soothe me and to just bring me back in here, because when you're not centered, you're not grounded, and you can feel just all over the place, anxious, like really in your head, like just thoughts, just like freight trains going by. It's very difficult to hear guidance. It's very difficult to even make a sound decision because you're so much in survival, like what am I going to do, and everything is just short term, as opposed to just, okay, calming, taking a deep breath, looking at the bigger picture, and taking action from a responsive place instead of a reactive place. So I use all of the tools that are at my disposal: meditation, writing, walking, reading. I was using everything to stay centered and grounded, and just to make sure that internally I was quiet. But that is the purpose of a practice, whatever your practice may be for you, to help keep you centered so you can take that calm with you wherever you go and with whatever you're doing.
Take the calm with you wherever you go. I Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Because so many people are they're like totally pressured. I have to do something. I have to do something. No, you have to take care of yourself. And if you do that first, then you can open yourself up to figuring out what's next for you.
Yeah, and I mean, so there's that aspect, and then also even with working on the bookstore, I made a very very clear statement for myself that this endeavor is going to be heart led. Like my heart is in the forefront of the actions that I'm taking. Of course, the heart, I'm feeling into it, and then I'm using my mental faculties for how to carry out what I'm feeling internally prompted to do, as opposed to maybe in the past, I would have pounded. I got a call. It's time. I got to move. When you're trying to force it, and then you feel frustrated because it doesn't happen in the way and within the time frame that you think it should happen. So with moving forward on my passion project with books, there were moments when I would move and take action, and then moments when I wasn't feeling like, okay, I'm just going to be still and be quiet and wait for the next step to be, feel into what I need to do next and then take action. And I really set the intention to trust that, to do something different, to do it differently than I had before. And it has moved consistently. I've had moments of, like I said, having some downtime and others of consistent action, even when I was building the website, ordering their inventory, or trying to take care of all of the legal and paperwork aspects. I did hit some roadblocks, but I'm happy to report, I didn't have a meltdown.
Oh,
because
wait.
I was
That
just
gives a
like,
gold star. Sure.
no meltdowns. I just said, okay, all right. So I have to submit this paper for the fourth time. Okay, I'm not going to interpret this as a sign that I should not move forward. Maybe there's something going on with the communications, but let me just go ahead and resubmit it. And then finally it's done. And sometimes my
Mhm.
timelines have to shift. Sometimes the resources that I need come in ways that I don't expect. But the point is that I'm not rigid and like it has to fit this mold and it has to be done this way. I'm creating something new here. So my behavior also has to be new.
I want to call back to something that you said regarding your mom's story, which I think
Okay.
cannot be hit hard enough. Is she found a solution? Her passion project came from a solution. These bracelets don't work for me. I'm going to create something that works for me, and I love that too. If you're struggling to figure out what you're passionate about, look at the solutions. What solution do you need? What can you create for others as well?
And where are your interests? What are you curious about? How can I make this bracelet? What can I do with it's a curiosity. And it doesn't have to be in the traditional sense, but what can I do with this bracelet? Like, how can I fix it? Gosh, maybe I can take these beads off and put them on here. Or maybe I can get some little equipment to do it. I mean, it was, and I shared that story. I told her that I was going to share that story with you because I love it so much. Because when I was growing up, she wasn't really into creative expression like that. And even when I went to college, they were more so like get a degree and stuff. Like the writing was kind of like, So I came back to the writing, and now I do this. My daughter is a visual artist. My son is into music. So there's creativity around her. And you could say there was a little bit of creativity with being a cosmetologist, but this just blew it out of the park. I was like, who is she? But it was so nice. It was just so nice to see this because she loves it and we love it. And it's just been wonderful.
And she has that joy and emanates more love, and it just goes on and
It
on. It's that
does.
cycle. It's that beautiful cycle of doing what you love and sharing that energy with yourself, your loved ones, and the world. And it sounds so simple when we say, oh, just do things you love, the world will be a better place. But it's true.
It is true. There's a reason why you keep hearing certain things reiterated because there's truth to them. I mean, there's the
Mhm.
truth that you have that's your individual truth, and then there's the truth that's always true that transcends time. And yes, and I also what I also really like about it is that she really is being very present with it. She's right here, right now. She hasn't started with the oh my gosh, just I'm gonna do this. I'm not. She really is just in this moment of I love making bracelets and I love sharing them with my clients. I'm gonna make this for my daughter and my grandchildren. That's just where she is. Who knows where it will go?
And you
You
don't
know what
know.
it you don't know, but just really being present with the moment and letting it lead you.
This is a great transition to the next question, which is because this is important as well, and you've touched on it a little, but what what keeps your passion project moving forward? Because in essence, the passion project, whereas it can be, and in some cases transitions to be your full-time thing, frequently it's your passion project because it's something that you're building in tandem with the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So do you
Mm-hmm.
have you've talked about how you've had to meditate, kind of stay calm, move forward, no meltdowns, yay. But do you have additional advice to impart to help with the forward momentum piece, because I think that's what stalls a lot of people, because it's for a lot of people it's not like I'm going to do this and next week it's perfect. It's time, right?
Yeah, definitely. Time is an aspect. But I was talking with a friend about this, before our conversation started, and we were talking about how there are layers of expression, you know, and what keeps mine moving forward is once I'm in the act of it. I mean, even if it's something tedious, like when I did the website, like that is extremely tedious, detailed, time consuming work. But I know that the other side of it, that I will feel very proud of myself because I took the time to do it. And so what was able to keep it moving forward are the small steps of me taking steps again, what right in front of me, just not trying to bite off, not trying to start a chain bookstore, just start right here. Because I noticed once I started. Okay, let me give you an example. So if I'm thinking, okay, I want to have a bookstore. Oh my gosh, I could have a physical bookstore, and then I'm going to have author events, and then it just goes on and on. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have, wait, overhead. Well, I don't know if I want to have like all this overhead. And then I felt the energy wane, and then I was getting stuck. Like, okay, well, where can I rent commercial property that's not that expensive? It just created just this, it just stopped. And so then when I was like, okay, let's reel it in. What can I do right here? Okay, there's some energy for the online stuff. I have everything at my disposal to get this moving. So then it's the baby steps, one action at a time, internally led, internally guided, what needs to come next, and following those steps, honoring myself when I felt like I needed to take like 2 or 3 days off. And then, waking up in the morning feeling like, okay, I got to finish this part of the website today, and just moving forward with it. But I noticed when I took that big unknown aspect that could be down the line out of the picture, the energy started to flow again. So it's they almost feel like spiritual breadcrumbs to me. Like, of course we're being led. Of course there's a bigger picture, or at least I believe there is, and that we have guidance to help us, and we know that we're going in the right direction, even if we don't know what the final outcome will look like, because we're feeling inspiration, because we're feeling joy, because we're feeling curious and excitement. It doesn't mean the entire journey is just this, like, oh my God, I'm just floating on a cloud eating cotton candy. No, it doesn't always feel like that. But when those qualities, inspiration, joy, motivation, and excitement are consistently present, you're going in the right direction. When you're talking to somebody about your project and your face lights up and you feel lightness in your body, you're moving in the right direction. Do I know what I'm going to do about shipping? No, but I know I'm moving in the right direction. So that's what keeps it going forward.
That's the best litmus test. When your face lights up when you're talking about your passion project,
Yeah,
it's going in the right direction. I
yeah.
love that so much. So
Mhm.
it's starting as an online book, or
Mhm.
it's existed as an online
Yeah.
bookstore because you were one of my guests in December for my early New Year's
Mhm.
party.
Oh, that was bookshop. I had it on
Right,
bookshop. Yeah.
right. So you've since transitioned it from bookshop to your own
I have
URL,
both.
which I will
Mhm.
share again. I've got it up in my other tab because it's just fun. I mean, you look at this and it really is like, I was going to say it's Bridgitte kind of leaking out here, because it's just,
That's so
well, you know,
Bridget. I love that.
but it's just because your aura, and I love your logo. So can you share where did that just come from your brain, or?
No, I actually had that logo created. Oh my gosh, probably 5 or 6 years ago. When I was really like getting. I think I hadn't started the book yet, but I was doing like, a lot of different interviews and stuff. And I just felt like, gosh, I should have a logo. And so I spent some time. Oh, so then I was like, where can I get a graphic artist to do this logo for me? Again, in my head, thinking, what am I going to do? And at the
Mm-hmm.
time, I was working at this spiritual center. And, there was a bookstore in the spiritual center. And I had been thinking. And then I walked into the bookstore that I had passed 100 times on 100 different occasions. And walked past these greeting cards. And then I saw this greeting card and I was like, oh my gosh, like I love that art. And that's what I mean by when it's time for you to know something or see something, you will see it because that stuff had been there. And so I found the card, contacted the artist, and said, I would love it if you would consider making a logo for me because I love your art. And so we just had a conversation, and I told her about the Little Visions and how they start from a small beginning, and we all have these little visions within ourselves. And that is what she came up with. Her name is Tara Catalano, and she is a wonderful, wonderful artist. She made that years ago. It almost as if it was in anticipation of something. And now it's just perfect. It's just perfect for this. I'm so grateful for Tara for that logo.
Oh, if you send me her website, I'll put it in the show notes as well,
Okay.
or her information or whatever. I was trying to share the screen to try and show your logo, but I'm afraid of kicking you off, so we will not do that.
Okay. So I
But
typed her name, but I don't know if that is if you need a different type of link, but it's Terracotta
oh,
Catalano. Hmm.
okay, I see it, and I'm gonna put it in the chat right now. And it you keep sharing these little nuggets that I don't know if
Yeah.
you know how good they are, but they're what I love about what you just said. And it's funny, this morning I was interviewed about Gold Chat, and they asked me when I started it, and I said, well, if you look on Twitter, you will see that I got the name Gold Chat in 2012 or 2013, but didn't start it till 2018.
Hmm.
So, and you saw and had this vision of this logo of something that was a not yet.
It really was a not yet, Deborah. It really was.
So I think that's a really good lesson for those who are watching, to be like, you may have this great idea and you could say, oh, I had this 10 years ago. It's never going to be something. I think that's wrong. I
You don't
think
know.
you just don't know. And certain things will come to you, and at some point, it'll be yet. And until then, you need to keep dreaming and thinking, because you never know when when it'll be the right time to bring something into your life that's kind of been in the back. Uh,
Absolutely. And I think that you have to trust, but you have to have trust to act on what you are feeling intuitively. And for me, my sign is the gnawing. Like it just like, okay, it just won't go away. Like, yeah, I should contact Tara and ask her if she'll do this, because you can get an idea and then instantly, there's this egoic part of ourselves that tries to keep us small. Well, you don't know how to do it. You don't have enough money. You don't have the resources, but you can always find out. You can always find out what you need to find out just to take the next step that's in front of you, within your reach to act upon.
yeah, and everything is in your reach. The other important lesson is, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So if you're
Right.
inspired or you see something really cool or interesting or whatever, ask.
I could not. Oh, Deborah, I would do a commercial for you just on that statement alone. I could not agree more, because let me tell you, all of those interviews that I did, and specifically when I was doing writing for OWN, I would have never gotten those interviews that I did if I had not just asked them. That's all I did. I just asked. And I
Mm-hmm.
just trusted that whoever I was supposed to talk to on some level would resonate with what was coming through in that email and say yes. That's how
So
that's how that happened. Just ask. You'd be surprised, and you would be surprised how people are willing to help. And especially if you tell them, I appreciate how patient you've been with me and my questions and your kindness and your candor. Thank you so much for sharing your information. And not just say it, but actually mean it. You'd be surprised.
Well, the genuine, that is
Yeah.
really the key
Yes. Being
ingredient.
sincere. Mm-hmm.
When you have that, and you can create anything. We have, my goodness, if you think of everything or anything that has been created in the last year that's just been born by necessity, or the different things that we have done because we couldn't do things the regular way, it's
Yes.
amazing. So why not put yourself out there in and see? And that genuine thing too, I think the other part is when you ask someone to do something, they're going to be really happy. Most of the time, if you say, hey, would you mind this? Or can I interview you for that? Or when you ask someone a favor, usually they're very happy and flattered, and it works for them as well. So there's the other flip side of that.
Yeah, and I just think that you're finding your tribe. You're finding like-hearted individuals.
Yes.
They will
Yes.
understand what you're trying to create, what you're trying to build, and it's like those are your people. Everybody's not going to be your people, but you can find them if when you're being, I think when you're being genuine, as you say, and sincere.
And if it's a no, they're not your people.
That's how I take it. Yeah. Okay, next.
Next. It's true. So you could have people on like such high pedestals and say, "Oh, this person is wonderful," and it's
Yeah.
a no. It really, really gives you like a reality check. But when
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
say yes, boy, they get elevated even more. So you don't know. You
Mm-hmm.
have to trust yourself, what you're
Yeah.
passionate about, and that it's going to leak out into
Mm-hmm.
everything you do.
And it doesn't always, I mean, it can look like a no and it could just be go in a different direction.
Yes,
You
a no
know,
could be
when,
a not yet. A no
just
could be a
not yet.
it's It's the it that's why I think when you know what you're passionate about, what you're working towards, when you've done like the groundwork, I mean, you know that you love books, you love being heart led, you love bringing people together. And as you've gone through your journey, you've seen different opportunities, and some are yeses and some are I should veer this way. And I think that's a very important lesson. When you know what you love and you lead with that, you're going to draw the right things and you might be swayed away from the wrong ones. And that's good. It's really
Absolutely.
good.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So before we wrap, well, we need to give everybody a bonus goal. So what do you think we should tell them to do?
A bonus goal for moving forward
Passion
with your
project.
passion project.
And if you're
I,
watching, whether it's live or the replay, please share your passion project or your tips on passion projects or just your thoughts on following your passion, because we want to support you and we want to connect with you. So please
mhm.
definitely reach out, comment, tweet, share.
Yeah, I
Okay,
like.
I bought you time. Your turn.
Oh,
You're welcome.
I like the image of because I was thinking, what do I want to say, and then the image came to mind of oh, I use this myself. When I kind of get ahead of myself and just start kind of causing problems for myself, that creating problems out of nowhere that don't even exist. I think about a dark road at night, like I don't know where this is going, and the car headlights highlight what you need to see. You know the road is there. You know that you will be able to continue going forward, but you only need the lights to show you what you need to see for the action you need to take right now. So just try to visualize that. Visualize that road with the part of it lit up to help you take the action that you need right now. Don't worry about what you can't see down the road. Just worry about what you can see, where you are, and act from there. Small steps from there.
I think I captured it. Visualize a dark road, turn on the headlights to show you what you need to do right now.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a great bonus goal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy.
It's very easy, and it's relatable, and it's accessible because you can, we're driving on the highway, and we all know that the highway is there. You don't know what the
Mm-hmm.
turn 10 miles up ahead is going to look like if you're driving in uncharted territory, which you are with a passion project, but you know that the light, your path is there, and that you will be shown when it's time to take the action.
Yes. And given that my book is road trip themed, I especially love the bonus goal. So, yes, and stop stressing out. It's all going to be okay. I think that should be the other bonus goal is stop stressing out. It's your passion project because you love it.
Yes, it really is going to be okay, and you don't have to have everything figured out from day one.
You don't.
You don't. You really don't.
Okay, I'm writing this bonus goal. Stop stressing out. Because it just kind of defeats the purpose.
Because it's so much of it. The important part is the journey, the becoming as a result of the journey. It's not always the destination. Who are you becoming? How are you touching lives around you? How are you bringing the joy, the love, the kindness and compassion and the humanity to the earth right now where you are with what you're doing? It is the journey along the way. So, I don't know. There's a lot of good that can be born from passion.
There is. And to be true to yourself and
Hmm.
true to what you want to create and don't rush it, just enjoy it. I think that's really the trick. And it's not always going to be wonderful, but and you said this too, which is important. If you need to take a break,
Take a break.
recalibrate,
Hmm.
breathe, take a day
Hmm.
off or 5,
Hmm. There you
and
go.
then move forward because that sometimes is all you need is to refuel, is to recharge yourself.
Exactly. Hmm.
Okay, so I'm gonna first of all, why don't you tell people where they can find you? I've got the links in here, and the links will be in the recap as well. But what is the best way to contact you, and where can people learn more about you? Let's do that
Okay,
first.
so you can learn more about me through littlevisioneers.com. Of course, there's a small little bio on that website. And then my personal website is bjbuckley.com. And that I have the books, my articles. I actually have an interview posted under interviews with Tara Catalano, who designed the website, and other interviews. So
Even
bjbuckley.com or Little Visioneers.
even better. And you can go to thedebmethod.com/blog for the recap of this and for the previous Goal Chat Lives. And I will even embed the December 1st early New Year's party you were on into the recap as well, because that was just a
That was
fun
fun. It was neat.
conversation. And if you want to learn more about me, go to thedebmethod.com. And if you want to learn more about your goal guide, go to yourgoalguidebook.com, which will take you to the Amazon link, or go to your favorite bookstore and order it, grab it, whatever, however they're or go to Bridgette's bookstore and grab my book, because silly me, I should put in the link.
It's there.
I know it's there, and you had this feels so silly. You put my book up with
What's
the books.
next?
What's next?
To
The way.
reimagine, reassess, and reevaluate.
Yes, and I love that. So I will just put in the recap where you can find my book at Bridgette's bookstore. Win win win.
That book list, what was that book list? I had a book list on the front page of Bookshop, the Bookshop website, the store. I think it was that list.
It
What's
it
next?
it was a it was something to do with what's next, because
Mm-hmm.
in what's next could be your passion project, it could be a new business, it could be a new career, it could be having more balance. But
Mm-hmm.
like with your passion project, what's next is what works for you. So think about what you need, because when you feel what you need, it makes everything around you better. Your family, your friends, all that hokey yay rah, have the best life. And what I like to leave people with final thoughts. So, what final snippet of advice do you want to leave everybody with?
I immediately what came to mind is just trust yourself. Trust yourself.
Oh, that's easy. That's like
That's
even
very
a
easy.
third
Just trust
bonus
yourself.
goal.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a third bonus.
Mm-hmm.
But it's true. If you trust yourself, if you trust what you love,
Mm-hmm.
you will get where you want to go.
Trust yourself and be yourself. Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful. Bridgitte, it's been so much fun hanging out with you. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you're watching, thanks for watching. You've been watching Gold Chat Live. You can join me every Sunday night on Twitter for the Gold Chat Twitter chat at 7 Pacific. And I will be back next Monday and every Monday at 4 p.m. with another wonderful guest for Gold Chat Live. Bridgitte, thank you so much for coming on and talking about it's such an important topic, especially now. And best of luck with your passion project. And everybody, best of luck with your passion project. Remember, you can do it.
Thank you, Deborah.